I came across this video somehow. I don't even know how. Maybe the Lord led me. I don't know. But it's regarding peace and safety, NATO, a kickoff newest launch of flagship report called Moving Out. It's all about the military movement in Europe and also coming to the United States. Their plans are already nailed down. The guy, I'd like to wipe the smirk off his face because this is definitely a movement towards God's people. So I'm going to let you listen to a few minutes of it, and I'll leave a link.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. I'm Damon Wilson, Executive Vice President of the Atlantic Council. And on behalf of the Council and the Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security, I'm delighted to welcome our audience and distinguished speakers to this conversation on the future of military mobility in Europe. As we look to discuss what's been a long-standing issue in European security circles, it's important to note that the world today is fundamentally different than the one when we began in earlier this year. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken hundreds of thousands of lives, shut down our economies and societies, and drawn almost the entirety of the world's attention and resources, and rightly so. But as our governments manage this crisis, we at the Atlantic Council are trying to help our leaders think through the many implications of COVID-19. And we do so with a focus on our core founding mission, how to help support peace and security, particularly for the
Peace and security.
Atlantic community by shaping the future together with our allies and our partners. So even as the world is consumed by the crisis at hand, it's a reminder to ensure that we keep other aspects of our security strong and
Did you hear that? As we are concerned about this virus, they are moving ahead in their plans. It is a distraction.
More important than the North Atlantic Alliance. As NATO Deputy Secretary General Mircea Joanna said on our virtual stage last week, there is no human activity that can be built in the absence of peace. Peace is the precondition of human dignity. This is the business of NATO, to keep 1 billion people at peace. NATO is the bedrock upon which our freedom to combat this pandemic and our ability to do so collectively rests. So even in these times, that means it's important to ensure that NATO can always ably provide for the defense of Europe. And that's why I'm glad to be here today to help kick off the launch of our newest flagship report, Moving Out, a comprehensive assessment of military mobility in Europe. This report tackles the critical question of how in a crisis can NATO move an immense amount of troops and equipment over the Atlantic and across numerous
mass amounts of troops they're planning on moving across the Atlantic.
European borders to support and defend the sovereignty of our allies. As you'll hear from our panelists today, this is an incredibly complex issue that's being addressed by so many different actors in NATO and the European Union and national government.
Did you hear that? Actors.
And as the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us, when security challenges extend across national boundaries, so too must our solutions. So I continue to be impressed how this remarkable task force and this team have mapped and assessed this issue set. They've truly pulled together a comprehensive assessment of every political, financial, operational, technical, and regulatory aspect of military mobility. And in true Scowcroft Center fashion, have provided a roadmap of recommendations to reinvigorate and guide continued progress on this issue. So with that twofold approach, I'm confident this study is the first full treatment of the military mobility challenge and is a best-in-class report on the subject. Kudos to the team. This is also a second study in a series that's been produced by our Transatlantic Security Initiative that's meant to define a collective strategy for defense in Europe. So this follows on our study on U.S. force posture in Europe called Permanent Deterrence. And both of these reports, I believe, serve as benchmarks for adapting and improving the United States and NATO's approach to defense and deterrence. This has been
I'm going to leave it there, guys. I will leave the link, but this is a definite attack being readied for God's people. There is so much that they are ready for. Are you ready? Jesus Christ is coming. There is a movement of mass troops and equipment over the Atlantic across numerous European borders to support and defend the sovereignty of our allies, he said. They're not our allies. This is definitely demonic, guys. This is definitely a demonic situation going on that we need to be aware of. Please put on your armor. Be ready at all times. Jesus Christ is coming. And I heard that, Elijah and Moses, Kimberly, put up a video about a sacrifice on second Passover, which is coming up. They plan on doing it on the Mount of Olives. We're at the end, guys. We are really at the end. I pray that you're blessed. Eyes open. Jesus Christ is coming. Get saved today.